The high-level general debate of the 77th session of the UN General Assembly gathers heads of state and high officials in New York for a fourth day. The government of Venezuela denounced the destruction and the poor condition of the facilities of the state-owned Monomeros fertilizer company. The People's Republic of Donetsk and Lugansk in the Donbas, as well as the regions of Kherson and Zaporizhia, hold referendums on their annexation to Russia. From the headquarters of TeleSUR English in Havana, Cuba, this is From the South. I'm your anchor, Gladys Quesada. And now we begin. Friday is the third day of United Nations high-level general debate of the 77th session of its General Assembly. This is the first entirely in-person General Assembly meeting since the start of the pandemic. Heads of state, heads of government, and top diplomats address global conflicts, the economic fallout after COVID-19 pandemic, climate change, and the social inequities that minorities still face worldwide. The Vice President of South Sudan, Hussein Abdelbagi, called to Russia and Ukraine to cease the hostilities due to the consequences for the global economy and food security.
The current war between Russia and Ukraine is unfortunate and devastating to the lives and livelihood of the citizens of both countries and beyond. The war has led to a severe humanitarian crisis where millions are in dire need. This war has not only affected the two warring parties, but it has far-reaching effect on global economic. From the moral point of view, South Sudan government is calling on Russia and Ukraine to cease all forms of hostilities and resolve the dispute through diplomatic and constructive dialogue to avoid further consequences.
The Vice President of Uganda, Jessica Lupo, called for more multilateral cooperation and urged international community to support conflicts preventions and initiatives that are taken by regional and sub-regional organizations. She also spoke about the increase in refugees people.
Experience has shown that when and where this happened, the chances of success have been very high. The conflicts in our region and beyond have led to an inevitable refugee influx into Uganda. Currently, we have over 1.5 million refugees in the country, the largest refugee population on the continent of Africa and the third largest in the whole world. We are committed to working with the refugee-sending countries, regional and international partners to address the causes of the refugee crisis. We urge the international community to continue supporting our efforts in the region in this direction.
Representing the Eastern Caribbean island of Barbados, its Prime Minister Mia Mottley made a call not to forget the devastating consequences of climate change and asked for the removal of the blockade against the people of Cuba.
Similarly, we ask for the same transparency to occur with respect to the removal of the blockade against the people of Cuba. This is the 30th year that the resolution has called for that removal of that blockade, but it has been there for 60 years. And I say simply to the people of the United States of America, do not be short-sighted in your goals. For in this hemisphere, peace and prosperity is the province of all. And yes, there may be problems on both sides, but there is nothing that justifies further hardship to people because of ideological differences.
The Prime Minister of Jamaica, Andrew Holness, supported a Haitian-led process to arrive at sustainable solutions to its challenges and called for the discontinuation of the economic, commercial and financial embargo against Cuba.
And we are committed, together with CARICOM and the international community, to moving beyond just standing with Haiti, to working more closely with Haiti to provide consistent and meaningful support. Mr. President, Jamaica also joins the call once again for the discontinuation of the economic, commercial, and financial embargo against our closest Caribbean neighbor, Cuba.
The Prime Minister of Jamaica also spoke about the violence issues in the Latin America and Caribbean region and urged for more control of weapons in countries that manufacture them.
Jamaica does not manufacture guns, but our population suffers from the effects of widely available guns. The countries that manufacture weapons that are available to the public must implement stronger measures to ensure that those weapons do not end up on the streets and in the hands of people for whom they were not intended. In the same way that there is a concern about illegal drugs on the streets of the rich countries, there must be concern about guns on the streets of developing countries like Jamaica.
The Foreign Minister of Mexico, Marcelo Ebrard, regarded the necessity to apply a new reform to the United Nations Security Council.
Worked for transparency, effectiveness, and accountability within the Council. We will continue to advocate for a comprehensive reform in Security Council, which will include more chairs, longer terms, and different categories of members so that it's more representative, transparent, and efficient. The paralysis of the Security Council is the result of the abuse of the so-called right to a veto by some of its permanent members. Actually, in this assembly, 2 of them explicitly referred to the need to restrict its use to exceptional situations.
During his speech, Foreign Minister Ebrard stressed the danger for humanity that it represents the proliferation of nuclear weapons.
Nuclear weapons are still the worst threat to humankind's survival. Mexico laments the lack of political will, particularly by those states who have nuclear weapons, to achieve agreements that would help us to accomplish this goal, something that was confirmed in the recent review conference for the NPT, which did not result in any conclusion, even when the risks of nuclear proliferation grow every single day. My country agrees with the vision of the Secretary General that a world that is safer, a world of peace, must sit squarely within international law, cooperation, and solidarity, and not in an incessant accumulation and modernization of nuclear and conventional arsenals.
We'll take a short break now. Join us again after this. Welcome back to From the South. The government of Venezuela denounced the destruction of the facilities of the state-owned Monomeros fertilizer company, headquartered in Barranquilla, Colombia. During a press conference, Tarek El Aizami, the sectoral vice president of the economy, informed that there are 4 open cases and 23 arrest warrants against Venezuelans involved in the criminal actions. El Aizami pointed out that the corrupt actions of the board of directors illegally controlled by Juan Guaidó and with the complicity of the government of Iván Duque led the company to 0% of its prudent capacity. The official also pointed out that President Nicolás Maduro Moros ordered the recovery of the facilities and the commissioning of the plant.
However, I would like to inform all of Venezuela and especially Colombia Our Colombian brothers said that President Nicolás Maduro has instructed that from now on we will assign a team of Venezuelan and Colombian specialists to begin the total recovery and operational restoration of this plant, destroyed by Iván Duque, Juan Guaidó, and Leopoldo López.
For his part, PECIVAN's president, Pedro Teixeira, said that they are working to receive the raw material needed for the plant to start operations.
In the next hours, we are about to receive the first ship that we sent from Venezuela with raw material, a dock that doesn't have the conditions. We are working 24 hours to receive the ship. In the next hours, we will give the news to the Colombian people of the raw material that Monomeros needs to start its productive process. We already have an extraordinary team to do the maintenance immediately and give the necessary reliability to the Monomeros plant to start its operations.
Now we move on to other topics. Gusts of 160 kilometers per hour and driving rain hit Bermuda on Friday, leaving thousands without power and fearing coastal damage as Hurricane Fiona, a powerful Category 4 storm, slid past the Atlantic island. According to the United States National Hurricane Center, Fiona's center was located about 250 kilometers northwest of the British territory. The island's main electric utilities said several areas reported power outages, with more than 7,000 people affected. The island, of about 64,000 people, is no stranger to hurricanes, but it is also tiny. The Royal Bermuda Regiment was on standby to help with clearing operations, and National Security Minister Michael Weeks implored residents to stay inside until the all-clear was given. Now we address other topics. Referendums have begun in the People's Republics of Lugansk and Donetsk in the Donbas, as well as in the regions of Kherson and Zaporizhzhia, all to be annexed to Russia. For 5 days, this process will be carried out and has started at 8 o'clock local time. For security reasons, during the first 4 days, the voting will take place outside the polling places. Citizens can do it in public places or in their homes, and volunteers will take the ballot boxes there. On the last day of the voting, fixed for September 27th, they will be able to go to the polling stations. The ballot will ask whether they agree that the region join Russia as a subject of the Russian Federation. If the majority decide on a yes, over 5 million people will become Russian citizens. The process, however, does not go smoothly everywhere. Ukrainian forces have carried out attacks to create obstacles and intimidate people. And we have more news coming up after a final short break, so stay with us. Welcome back to From the South. The Syrian government calls the UN Human Rights Council's reports skewed. Ambassador Hussam el-Din Allah ratified his rejection of the body's resolutions and reports, stating that they are governed by double standards and Western interventionist agendas. He pointed out that the document attacks his country for political considerations and to serve the agendas of the state sponsors of the Damascus Fact-Finding Committee. The ambassador also pointed out that the initiative is to lift the blockades imposed by the United States and to guarantee the human rights of the country, while condemning the use of false stories by the committee, which is an example of the lack of professionalism and credibility of the entity.
We oppose, reject the state and politicized reports, just as in previous reports. The Commission's report reflects its determination to present a false situation by ignoring the nature of the war against terrorism and external factors that are supporting the establishment of terrorist groups that continue to commit crimes in Syrian territories. Groups that include thousands of foreign terrorists who have come from many other countries around the world and who are falsely presented as the armed Syrian opposition.
Cuba's ambassador to the organization, Juan Antonio Quintanilla, condemned the attempt to destabilize Syria and other countries by the Western interventionist agenda.
Acts of terrorism in all its forms and manifestations and double standards in their confrontations, as well as attempts to destabilize Syria and other countries in the region as part of the geopolitical agenda of the Western powers.
At the same time, the ambassador of Venezuela, Héctor Constant Rosales, warned about the inaction of the United Nations due to the coercive measures applied to Syria.
Regrettable that the Commission doesn't address the unilateral coercive measures nor the plundering of Syrian oil and grain by the United States, nor the impact of terrorism in all its forms, as well as the illegal foreign occupation and intervention, and not even the ongoing aggression.
On Thursday, at least 51 asylum seekers died when their boat sank off serious coast after departing from neighboring Lebanon. According to the director of Syrian seaports, Samer Kobarsi, the travelers of different nationalities were bound to Cyprus. Syrian authorities stated that 20 survivors were being treated in Basel Hospital in Tartus. Tartus is the southernmost of Syria's main ports and lies a little more than 50 kilometers north of the Lebanese port city of Tripoli. Lebanon has been mired in an economic crisis for the past 3 years, prompting a rise in clandestine attempts to leave for the European Union. Now we address other topics. The Chinese mainland had administered more than 3 billion doses of COVID-19 vaccines as of Thursday, according to the National Health Commission. Specifically, a total of over 3 billion vaccine doses had been administered in the 31 provincial-level regions, namely provinces and municipalities directly under the central government and other autonomous regions. The Chinese mainland reported 121 confirmed locally transmitted COVID-19 cases and 54 imported ones on Thursday. No new fatalities from COVID-19 or additional suspected cases were reported on the day. This September 24th, TeleSUR invites you to see a brand new documentary titled Alex Saab, a Kidnapped Diplomat. The audiovisual features testimonies from lawyers, experts, and family members of Alex Saab, including his wife, Camila Fabry. All of them will reveal details never known before about the first kidnapping of a diplomat in the history of the world. It also compiles the actions taken by the U.S. government towards countries and individuals to ambush Saab in Cape Verde. Authorities in the island country imprisoned the Venezuelan high government official without an arrest warrant against him, and don't miss the documentary Alex Saab, a Kidnapped Diplomat, only on TeleSUR. We have come to the end of this news brief, but remember, you can find this and many other stories on our website at telesurenglish.net. And also, if you feel so inclined, please join us on social media for all the latest news. We are on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and Telegram. And you can also follow us on our TikTok account at TeleSUR English, in which you will be able to see news in different formats, news updates, and more. For TeleSUR English, I'm Gladys Quesada. Thank you for watching.